First of all, I am a diabetic. On Friday, November 19th, 1999, I felt fluish. By Saturday, I was vomiting and experiencing what I felt was only the flu. I had a strong need to be at my parents' home. Since my meter read good numbers, I promised my mom if I was still the same on Sunday, we could go to the emergency room. As the night went on, I asked my dad to please get my mom. I, for some reason, had a strong desire to have her near me. I was on the couch. She came down and slept on the couch with me. I felt my breathing hurting and becoming harder. I felt extreme pain all over my body and I couldn't stand straight. At one point, I remember grabbing an alarm clock and thinking it was my glass of water. I fell asleep to suddenly waking up at about 8:10 a.m. That's when I told my mother it was time for me to go. That I loved her very much and not to feel bad, because I never really got to be a happy girl. I also noticed a boy, about in upper teens, waiting by the coffee table. He kept trying to hurry me along with my mom. I kept saying things like, "Please excuse my French, but I am telling you the whole thing. Blank off and give me another minute." My mom kept asking who I was talking to and tried to quiet me down. My sister upstairs said that I woke her, and she thought to herself, "What's up with her?" to only have a voice go off in her head and say, "She's dying." She dismissed it and fell back to sleep. I kept telling my mom how much I loved her and had to go now. She only dismissed and said, "Yes, you need to sleep now, and we'll go to the clinic later." Well, she laid next to me on the couch and said, "God, you're cold," and rubbed my legs and feet. By 10 a.m., my mom got up to use the bathroom, and I followed. When she came out, we both noticed how my arm was hanging funny off the couch. How I was ash-colored. "In case you didn't notice," I said. I was on the couch, but also next to my mom, looking at myself too. She tried to wake me, checked for a pulse, shook me, and began yelling at me. That brought my sister downstairs to only look at me and said, "Mom, she's dead." My mom yelled at her to never say that and told her to call 911, and she ran upstairs to get my dad. I followed my sister to the phone and watched her and listened to her on the telephone with the 911 lady. The whole time that boy is with me and telling me we had to go. Next, my dad came down and started to shake and yell at me to wake up. Then my parents went into action and started CPR. My sister couldn't hack hearing the air come back up like it did. She said that was the scariest sound she'd ever heard. I followed her out to the porch. She was waiting for the paramedics. They came and shocked me, and then, I don't remember again until the ride in the ambulance when I saw my dad in the front passenger seat of the ambulance looking back and watching the men work on me. Then we made it to the hospital, and I followed the doctor in where he told my parents that I was down too long and I would not regain, and if I did, it would be at what quality of life. Hell, they had the Red Cross on standby for organs and a reverend wanting to give me last rites. I remember hearing the prayers people would say in their heads as the reverend prayed over me. I heard people's personal thoughts about me. As all this was going on, I'm begging to please not let me go back because I loved it where I was in my life. Back there was such crap. I remember being told that I was very much loved and believed in many wrong people and beliefs. I was shown who was true and who was not to me. I was told that I was beautiful and loved and would be missed. One thing I will always remember is being told how my mom was not ready for this. I was shown what would take place if I were not to come back. I saw her sitting in her bedroom with nothing but the feeling of dread and sadness. It's very hard to describe all the things that were taking place all at once. Then I remember my brother. He's in the Navy and was stationed in Chicago at the time, coming in the room and saying how he felt like someone just kicked him in the stomach. Then, I just suddenly woke up from my coma that they claimed I never would wake up from, and if I did, I'd be a veggie. I held out my hand to my parents who sat at my bedside day and night. They jumped out of their skin, and they looked shocked to see me awake. I remember reading the little board on the wall where the nurses of the shift would write their names. I remember reading Terry and Teresa, and the day was Monday, November 22nd, 1999. I tried to ask what happened to Sunday, but the breathing tube kind of got in the way. I spent Thanksgiving in the ICU and had surgery that day too. I was exhausted like never before, but I never felt the feeling I had before either. It's hard to explain, but I felt very peaceful, clean, and content. I felt new in a way, I guess you could say. I felt like no one or nothing could touch me and hurt me in any way. I spent 11 days in the hospital. I was very weak, but always demanded to go home. I became depressed a little and talked a lot about my experience. Then one day my sister and I were on the computer, and she was blowing up a picture of what she said had ghosts in it. It was a picture of me at a cemetery by a witch's ball. Well, guess what? She was right about the picture and ghosts. One ghost got my attention though. It was the boy who was at my house the day I died. The picture was taken 2 weeks before my ordeal. I went to the cemetery and right to his grave. Then I went to the library and looked up his name on the stone because I was interested on how he died. After that, even more changed for me. I just needed someone to talk to that had been where I was. Of course, I had no one, so I pushed it aside and gave it a rest because everyone thought I was being too involved in the NDE. But to this day, almost 3 years later, I still have the need to find out more about my NDE and be told I'm not crazy and that yes, NDE do exist and not some brain flash or whatever critics are calling it now. I'm sorry. I know what I know, and it wasn't a dream. I have so much more I could say. I probably skipped over some things, but it's hard to write it all down. My life has truly changed. I even listened to some of the knowledge I was given, and I'm not perfect, but have tried to hold on to that extreme patience I had when I first came back. Thank you for allowing me to share this.